All right, this is Dirt Sociable. I'm Alec Hoffman.
David Deschamps, and we welcome you guys to our first ever podcast.
Yeah, so we were just at the Mint 400. What were we there for?
Short course racing, my friend.
Yeah. And then we turned out to be there for the desert racing, so that's how things go. But it was still a good time. I enjoyed myself.
Yeah, I had a good time. It was, with the buddies and just enjoying any racing at this point of the year is always fun. Obviously, would have enjoyed short course a little bit, but desert was a new experience for me.
Yeah, I don't know if you even call it the desert, considering it was pretty cold. I think it was the same temperatures as back here in Wisconsin.
Yeah, for sure it was a sweatshirt and a beanie. It was cold.
Yeah, I was a sweatshirt, t-shirt, this windbreaker, hood up, still cold.
Yeah, definitely was not like normal Vegas for me. Go to Vegas quite a bit and it was cold, so.
Yep.
But I think what we want to start off with is kind of giving ourselves a little bit of an intro, who we are, why we're doing the podcast.
Yeah, so, I've been going to short course racing. My dad's been taking me since I've been little, but really the first memories started forming 2007, when you can drive yourself there and go with all your buddies and stuff like that. I was definitely on spectator level at that point, not really getting into fixing or racing or anything with the team, just sitting on the hill and enjoying the racing.
Yeah, I mean, I've been around some shape or form of dirt racing, whether it's been RC, oval. Definitely got to experience short course at a younger age. As I got older, went to Crandon, and obviously that was kind of like the focal point for me, was going to Crandon, getting to Crandon. As I got older, I got more involved. I pitted for some teams for a while, and here I am, and I'm never turning back, man. Short course is awesome.
Yeah. I think one of those teams you pitted for was me, right?
Yeah. I mean, you might have been the most strict driver I pitted for, but yeah.
Hey, I still let you go out until 2, 3 in the morning, I remember sometimes.
It might have been 5, but anyways.
Yeah, we'll call it 4. That's that Bark River
the time difference.
Yep.
Bark River time. Yeah.
Yeah, so I raced, started in 2016 with the first UTV class. Was part of the first ERX UTV race. Wild West.
That was wild. Wild West for sure. Like, I remember that was when the UTV went off the jump, hit the safety crew.
Oh, yeah.
The back of the truck. Yeah. That was nuts, man.
Yeah, over the big hill. I forgot whose that was, but that was one of the bikeman guys. Yeah, they were super fast. And back then they actually ran stock with mod.
Yeah.
And they only had pro stock and pro mod.
Time flies.
I think we had 10 altogether. So it was the Wild West. Tech didn't know what to do with these things.
No, and obviously we evolved a long way from where that was. And something I enjoy, and I'm excited to be doing this podcast with you. It's something that actually formulated on our way to Vegas the last time. I threw it out as an idea to do a podcast, and at first you were like, I don't know. And then 2 weeks later, we're full into this whole podcast and like developing the studio you're seeing us at and all these things. And Alec really took off and did all this on his own for the most part. So I helped with some of his other buddies.
Yeah, you put a fire underneath me and it grew to a big ass bonfire.
Right? Yeah. Crazy. I think like what our premise of our show is obviously like two of us just enjoying drinks. I think at some point we'll probably have some guests on, and they'll be somewhere around this table. And I think that's kind of the premise is let's talk about, short course racing, off-road racing, but focusing on the short course piece of it. And really just for me, and I don't know, I think you share the same things, and this is why the podcast works for us, is like I just love the history of off-road racing. And like you, especially racers today, we're talking, they might be 3 generations of drivers, and they're getting to experience that with their families. And like for me, that's the exciting part of off-road racing, especially short course. Like I know a lot of people that are 3rd generation drivers.
Yeah, we have a lot of great history in our short course close-knit family of the Midwest, and we definitely need to expose more of it because it's just the big drivers that kind of get a lot of the articles written about them, and there's a lot of other drivers from the past that their history needs to be written down and put onto, well, not written down, we're going to put it on film.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, you start naming or you start looking back at some of these guys from past, and you try to Google them, and a lot of them aren't even out there. They're not findable, and those are the stories we want to uncover. We want to bring in people from the past, current, or even if there's like the current guys that have stories of the past, things like that is what really part of it I enjoy.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think we have to do a cheers for our first one.
Yeah, definitely. This is a little bit of Weller Special made into an old fashioned, just kind of doing it simple the first time. And
here's to many more podcasts and enjoying drinks, talking about something that we both really enjoy.
Here's to more dirt sociably.
Yeah.
So,
right.
Alrighty. So,
and I think we can stay on the podcast for a little bit before we get into the mint. I guess what we're striving for, we talked about it a little bit about the past and the current, but also like just really driving it off of, making sure that when we're having conversations, we have education behind it. We're trying to base it in the facts, and really keeping it something where you can sit down with multiple generations of people and enjoy this podcast. So,
yeah,
like if you're get a chance to be with your grandpa or your dad or whatever, no matter what age you are, we want people to be able to, enjoy this podcast.
Yeah, definitely. We want to make sure the content is consumable by all. There might be some strong language from time to time when you get some off-road racers in a room that is sometimes non-avoidable.
Yeah, we'll try to limit that where we can, and
yeah.
I mean, obviously that will happen time to time, but I mean, you go to any race, you hear it at the racetrack. So
yeah.
I'm assuming people listening have probably heard it at the racetrack before.
Most definitely. Yeah, and keeping it fact-based, we're going to bring in what I want to call specialists, people that have been in the industry for a long time. We talk with them on a regular basis, and we want to make sure what we're saying is accurate and not just spewing out rumor mill stuff.
Well, I would say for the most part. Every now and then I might throw in my personal take on some things.
Oh yeah, you can personal take it all you want.
Which might just be, on my own lens.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, other than that, we're want to jump into the Mint 400. So obviously, as Alec kind of previewed that, we really ventured off into Vegas with the premise that there was going to be short course racing. And at least for me, the desert racing was going to be a new experience. Haven't really seen, I've like watched it on, the internet, YouTube, whatever, but in person, this was going to be my first time watching desert racing.
Yeah.
But I was really excited for the short course piece. Obviously that fell through, but I still at least enjoyed the Mint.
Yeah, it was a great experience to see the Mint, myself as well. That was my first desert race in person. And it was a good experience. Definitely a lot to take away from it. A lot of good things, and then a lot of things that, you just don't acclimate quickly to as a short course guy. We really are kind of spoiled in that aspect. In short course, we have so much action right in front of us, and it's typically all the time.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I mean, obviously there's parts of Crandon, parts of Bark River, or other tracks that might disappear from your view at points. But, when they come back around, for the most part, obviously there's some classes that they separate and the racing isn't side by side. But you look back in short course, there's probably every single race has some levels side by side, whether it's out front, in the middle of the pack, even in the back. And that was, at least for me, from like a desert racing perspective, that was the part that was missing for me. They came into our section. They weren't really next to each other. They were just racing the clock, racing amongst themselves. And you didn't really get to see the side-by-side action other than the 2x2 start. And then after that, there really wasn't much passing that we got to see. And that part was difficult for me. You see the guy pass, and then 30, 45 minutes later, they might come back through even longer.
Yeah, they were even on Saturday when we were watching the unlimited class. I think the laps were going around 50 minutes to 45 minutes, depending on who you were watching. But when we watched qualifying, that got me going. Like, they were off the line together. A lot of them were battling it out. Some guys, kind of just gave it up right away and wanted to run a fast lap right behind them. But there was guys that, they would pass before they exited over the road, and then they were making more passes as they were coming back.
Yeah, I mean, especially what I've gathered from desert racing and watching is you don't want to be the follower, especially off the beginning. Like, you want to get yourself in clean air out of the dust, and there was guys that were for sure trying to get into the clean air, especially in the 2x2 start. They were, really pulling through and hitting those jumps at full speed, trying to get the lead going into the desert, and I think that was clearly the path, and you could see guys had that in mind when they started the race.
Yeah. Yeah, I expected them to be actually a little bit more conservative. I thought some of the drivers that they were pretty aggressive for it being desert racing, but as you kind of look at it, when you're that top 5, you got to keep that aggression level up because somebody could just get by you on a time correction.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the whole thing and that's the other part of desert racing that is difficult because even though guy could be, you see him out front, based off of time, he might not be the leader.
Yeah.
And that was the hard part for me because, I don't know, I used to short course racing, guys out front, chances are they're leading the race.
Yep, yeah. Yeah, you were watching the live stream quite a bit on your phone. I was watching a lot of the live timing to see where they were at, who was coming in. And between that calculation and when they left, we were trying to figure out who was Dave Mason was, if he was going to be getting second or getting closer to first. And at the end of the day, I just kind of took a line from Kings of Hammer because it's kind of the same race format. And it all doesn't mean anything until they take your transponder and confirm everything's good. Because even when they come back, they take that transponder, make sure nobody cheated for time-wise and stuff.
Cut the course and make sure they aren't adding penalties on. And it's a whole nother ballgame. Obviously, in short course, there's, DQ, there can be penalties, times, things like that could bump a person, but it's a lot less likely to happen than in the desert.
Definitely, yeah. So what things did you like specifically from the Min 400 something that not necessarily, if they could take it and put it into a short course form, or even if they couldn't, what did you like?
Yeah, I think from like in the desert, what I enjoyed was the ability. I like the long course. Like, obviously, you're not going to do it in a short course because the whole name is short course. Yeah. So I did like the fact that it incorporated, different sections that really tested a driver's ability across multiple different things, whether it's wide open, more technical, making sure they're staying on the course, preserving their vehicle, and really challenges the driver just due to the length. Like, I really enjoyed that from like that aspect. Being a spectator of that, it's a little more hard. If you had the live stream and you were had the live stream going and you were in your section, you could actively watch the live stream. I think that would have helped a lot more. Like, yes, I had it up quite a bit, but I think if we had it up the whole time, it would have kept us more connected to the racing when they weren't in our little section.
Yeah, even when I talked to a lot of guys that are desert racers, when we were doing the pre-party and stuff like that, and I was asking them pretty much the same question, like, what should some short course boys do to have some fun? And quite a few of them said, get VIP, watch the live stream.
Yeah.
And in my head, that's like, well, that's like sitting at a sporting event or a concert. Sitting at a concert in the very back and just watching the big screen. Yeah. That doesn't hit with me.
It's like you're not even watching the concert. You're just sitting in a VIP section, no vision of the concert, just watching it on a screen.
Watching that big TV.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, like, could you sit at home and watch desert racing and get a better experience?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, 100%. But I don't know. I think it's just the prestige of the Mint 400 and the name. Like, to say you've been at the Mint 400 is pretty cool.
Yeah. I think we're starting to dive into the next thing, so let's hold off on some more of that. I guess one thing I really like that I think they could put into short course was the grid walk. So
Yeah.
they come out, and this was only during the unlimited race. They park all the vehicles in qualifying order. So they're about to go out and start their racing. And they park them all there. All the drivers pop out. Crew members go out there, and they open up the gates. And all the fans can go out there and talk to all these drivers. And all the drivers that we experienced were very friendly and willing to talk. We did an interview with Dave Mason and an Eisenhower as well. The Eisenhower one is actually up on our YouTube already. The Dave Mason one, the audio was really bad in that section. It was super busy. So we'll have to kind of just brief up on that one.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. Like, definitely didn't expect that. Something we don't see in the short course series where, before the big race, like you think of Crandon, the cup race.
Yeah.
That'd be like lining them up in grid order for the cup race.
And they do that and they do intros.
Yeah.
But they definitely don't let us out there.
Correct. And that's what I was getting at. It'd be like them lining up for the cup race, opening the doors, and all those fans flooding in there.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, you take a fall Crandon, and the amount of people there is probably tenfold.
Oh,
At least tenfold.
100-fold compared to what
And-
was at the Mint, easily.
Yeah. So that's the thing. That makes it a little more difficult to do in the short course space, especially like a fall Crandon where you get so many people. Obviously, there's ways around it, whether you have a special pass or VIP that gives you the access to the grid. That would be cool. And I agree with you. Like, that was one of the experiences that most of my pictures are from the grid walk. And it was just exciting to see the drivers preparing. And obviously, they're, jumping into a 400-mile race, and it's going to be grueling for them. And you saw them preparing for it. I mean, we saw guys getting IVs on the grid.
That was my next comment. The one guy that's sitting on his Nerf bar tapped in with a IV, and
yeah, that was wild. Like, obviously, we know that happens in short course. Guys get IVs, things like that, to rehydrate, but you're preparing for the desert. I didn't expect to go out on the grid and see somebody getting an IV right on the grid.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
I think that the grid walk could be done, like you said, at Crandon with a special pass, and I am definitely not for making more paywalls at freaking Crandon, because there's already enough.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of paywalls, that's one of the things I want to discuss about the desert racing as well, where I personally think, like, the nice thing is I could fire up the live stream right there and then. There's no paywalls for the live stream. I could fire it up. That was awesome.
Yeah, here's a hot take. How come the series that has 4 helicopters in the sky, a Humvee, multiple Humvees with really high quality cameras, can afford a free live stream, but the ones with a couple drones and 4 guys with broadcasting cameras in corners has to charge a paywall?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know the math, but
I was just saying too, like, you're looking at I didn't actually go and look at YouTube and look at how many views the Mint 400 had on their live stream.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't pull those numbers. I wish I would have had. But for me, this is my perspective, is you're getting 100,000 people watching that live stream, and the flip side, you might be getting 10,000 paid people to watch it. Like, I don't know, if I'm advertising, I want the reach of 100,000 people versus 10,000, and that's just me looking at it from, if I'm advertising, I want the reach of more people.
Yeah, whether it's, I don't know I don't know the math. That's been debated so much.
100%, and it's the thing, though. It's, like, for me, do you want more people to get into the sport? Do you want to expand the sport? You got to make it accessible to people that, not everybody's going to go to Crandon. Not everybody's going to go to ERX. Like, the travel to go to some of these tracks, it's nice that they're going to expand. We'll talk about that to some new tracks this upcoming season, but if you want to continue to grow the exposure of the sport, you have to give people that might not be able to get to the track, or, maybe they don't have the ability to pay for a yearly subscription. You got to give them the ability to get the content to drive them into the sport, and maybe they make a trip together with their buddies once a year to one of the tracks on the short course. Like, that's how I envision it. Like, you want to drive more people to grow the sport.
Yeah. Yeah, back in our day when we were pure spectators, we would go to Crandon and eventually Bark River. But outside of that, I wasn't going to sit and watch a live stream. I was going to go out and hang out with my buddies and go four-wheeling.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, even I remember growing up and going to the tracks, like, I had to save my money to go to Crandon. I had to, like, consciously save my money to go to Bark River, like, but it was nice because I got to hang out with my buddies. I mean,
Yeah.
we done the Crandon even years ago, and we would stay up. Luckily, we had a cabin to go to that was still a drive, but it wasn't, like, we still had to invest to go to the track.
Yeah, definitely. And it's not getting cheaper. I would like to really dig back and find what the cost was. I truly remember, like, it being in the 40s.
Oh,
For a
you mean
weekend.
a weekend? Yeah. I recall being like 30, $40. Even, I mean, it was tough because sometimes we'd go one day. So, like, I remember paying less for one day, but I know back when I started going on a pretty regular basis to all the races when I was pitting was, you know, probably $40, $30 for the whole weekend. And now we're talking, what, 60, 75?
I think it's actually 85.
Yeah.
For the championship weekend, for a weekend pass.
Yeah, and obviously costs are going up, but that's the thing is you're starting to put yourself into a position where, like, if you want to grow the sport, we have to think of ways to get the exposure more people. And that's just the thing I enjoyed about the Mint. Like, hey, I was at the track and, like, yeah, I could fire it up, though, and watch the live stream, and I wasn't stuck to a yearly subscription or whatever.
Yeah. So, going into the next thing about the Mint here, if you were to give advice to some short course guys going to the Mint, what kind of advice would you give them to make the most out of their trip?
Yeah, I would say, like, obviously I'm speaking Mint 400 specific. I don't have experience going to any of the other desert races, but it would be, for me, like, there's different spectator areas. Go out there, grab a spectator area, enjoy the people around you, make new friends. Like, for us, that was a huge part of it. We had a group of guys that were next to us. They were on a trip together to experience, you know, a racing event, and we hung out with them like the whole time we were on the spectator area, and that was really cool. Like, that was part of a good experience for me. The other part would be, you know, be prepared to not see door-to-door action, and definitely have a big data package and fire up the live stream and make sure, like, I think that's huge though. Like, you get to see the guys going through the course, and like when you fired up the live stream and those guys are going 100 miles per hour through the desert, that's crazy. Like, we didn't have that section, or even if we had top speed, seeing it from a distance is way different than seeing the in-car view of them racing.
Yeah, I think if you go and view the spectator zone, that's the high speed, you see, you know, a couple of the cars of the same class go by, and then it just becomes NASCAR. And it's the same thing. So I'm along the same lines, what you were saying. What I would do is I would get start-finish line package and get GA Plus, because it is kind of squishy and they got some nice seats in there once you find out where it is.
At least GA Plus.
I wouldn't go VIP. You wouldn't find me in VIP for the price.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it depends. Like, if you're going to go and stay at the start-finish line,
yeah, then maybe VIP.
Then maybe. But if you are going to venture off and go to other spectator areas, I agree with you. GA Plus is probably the route to go.
Yeah, I would go GA Plus, watch everybody start. The second everybody starts and they're out of view, get in your car, go to Spec 2, because that's the furthest one away, and that's the one that they should be hitting about the time you get there, because that's how it went for us. Maybe stop for Subway on the way there. There's a little
that
Subway.
Was clutch. That was clutch.
And that came in good, because there's not much good for eating around there. And you can throw a sub in your car and chew on that and have a good time. And anyways, get to Spec 2, watch them go by for a lap, go to Spec 3 or 1 or however it works out. Every single lap have a different zone, and then get back to the finish line for everybody coming in finishing, and then watch them go over the podium deal and their speeches, and then That to me is the best way to do it. And you're moving a lot, so you know, you gotta
Wear comfy shoes.
wear comfortable shoes. Yeah. Oh, here's another clutch thing. If you're flying in, go to your Target, your Walmart nearby, get yourself a cooler, one of those breakable down ones, foam or the degradable ones. Get you some beer, because at the spec locations, you can bring the cooler in and drink your little heart desires away.
Yeah.
And then also, while you're there, this is going to be worth the investment. Buy yourself a chair.
Yeah, I wish I had a chair as well. Found myself sitting in the car a couple times just to sit down. The other thing, outside of the racing, I also would recommend you do all the events around the Mint 400 as well. They have the parade. Like, granted, it's a very short section, not long. It's still cool to see the parade. And then, like, the whole vendor alley the next day down Fremont.
Oh, Wednesday, Thursday? I wouldn't miss that for nothing.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And stay right on Fremont Street. Don't be a fool. Stay right on Fremont Street.
Yeah, and like just partake in all the events and really immerse yourself into the racing culture for that amount of time. Like, even as short course guys, like, we had a lot of things in common with people that were desert racers, and like, we could find common grounds. We had a lot of great conversations, and yeah, it was a great trip.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, the Fremont Street stuff felt a lot like Crandon. When you go, they do the lining up and the parade. It felt like a lot like that.
Yeah, it definitely did, and I don't know which one came first.
The chicken or the egg?
Yeah, I don't know. And I think, if I remember correctly, Mint 400 had it first. And
yeah, they've been doing it for a while.
And Crandon modeled after it. But either way, like, as a spectator, that's just cool, getting the race vehicles lined up. Obviously, you don't know all the logistics of it in Vegas, but it would have been nice if all the drivers had the opportunity to be in the parade.
Yeah, I do know, because a lot of the gripe and confusion and everything else with short course coming there was that they only could have X amount of cars do this parade, and no short course vehicles were going to be in the parade because everybody was already registered for it. But I got a time lapse, and I don't think it lasted but 2 minutes. And in real time, that means it lasted less than 10 minutes.
It was quick. They were moving. It wasn't like a slow parade. There wasn't. If you're in the short course and you think of Crandon, you have all the other floats. You have the wooden wheeled vehicle that's coming through with the gun going off. Like, all that. There was none of that.
Don't give away the secrets.
I'm trying to get people to go.
Spoiler alert.
Okay, if you haven't been to the Crandon parade, I'm sorry. I'm assuming most people have at this point.
True.
But other than that, like, that wasn't in the parade. It was, for the most part, all the race vehicles, the pre-runners, things like that were in the parade, and it was a lot faster than Crandon.
Yeah, they're going by at a solid 35, possibly
cooking.
45.
Yeah.
Especially because they had the slinky effect, so there would be some slow at a moment and then all of a sudden, so, but that was all. It was all good and all cool, but definitely they could have stuck 3 times the amount and only extended the time by 3 minutes.
Yeah, it 100% had to be with how much they could close down the strip, or the time that they could keep the strip closed. Like, it had to do with that.
Yeah, and I think that it is a curse that follows all off-roading, but promoting. No matter how much of a legendary race it is, no matter how much everything else, there was employees on the Fremont Street, multiple employees of hotels and restaurants that were asking us what's going on. And to me, that seems weird.
Yeah, it's Vegas. I mean, Vegas probably has something going on every single day. They probably have a convention every single day. So for Vegas, it would be tough to keep up with.
I understand, but this convention shut down Fremont Street and parked a bunch of trucks on it.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, definitely unique. I think the other thing to consider here as well is we didn't get into a lot of the Mint 400 race itself.
Yeah.
One of the other things that was surprising was the UTVs were fearless on the road jump, and what was it? 3 of them paid for it.
Oh, I think there was fear. I just think that their fear was...
I don't know if there was fear.
Yeah, their fear was less than how do I say this? I just think that they went for it. We had a decent long conversation about this, and I was trying to relate it because I've raced before and I know how it kind of goes. And everybody up there, like one guy crashed with his UTV on the road jump, and the other guy's sitting staged. And then he goes after they clear his wreckage of a yard sale, and then he frickin' yard sales it and wads it up even worse. And, you know, I realize that sounds so stupid to be watching somebody crash and then you go crash it the same way. But once you put that helmet on, man, suddenly you think you're Superman.
Yeah, it was crazy. Obviously, hopefully I didn't hear any updates, but hopefully everybody was okay.
Everybody's good. I did see an update on Mint 400's page because they posted the crashes. I actually had a really good clip of it. I believe it's on the YouTube video. Don't quote me on that, but
I think it is too. And I think the other part is I mean, they were so like back to back to back, and one of them took a while to clear up. They actually diverted the course. Like they went a whole nother path on the course, and they omitted that out of it. And I was like, yeah, but that was part of the challenge. Like, you have to know your limitations. You have to know how to drive your machine.
Yeah.
And like, granted, it was a pretty gnarly jump over the road, and obviously with the weight of the desert race, and you have extra gear and tires and whatever else in the back, that makes them jump a little different. But to me, that's part of the challenge. Like, you have to know your limitations. You have to know the course, and those three guys misjudged it.
Yeah, I stood on that jump during the grid walk, and I will say it's really comparable to Antigo's front stretch jumps, and same with Crandon's front stretch jump going into barn. It's really comparable to that. The biggest problem is they're set up for desert. They got some more cushy shocks. You get so much of that rebound and that momentum builds that it's just like they jump on a trampoline and it just happens.
Well, yeah.
You got to fine tune, just like you got to know your limitations and your car's limitations. And well, those guys found the edge.
Yeah, and I think, like I had said, like, they're obviously, this center of gravity is a little messed up because they probably have a lot more weight in the back than, that they're set up for.
Yeah. And they're carrying past. I haven't dug into it. I would like to know what their minimum weight is.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it'd be crazy to be a passenger. You're 100% relying on the driver. And
I started out as a passenger for quite a few guys.
Yeah?
No big names or anything, but back out in the Digger Doug series, that's when UTVs started really popping off. And we had an endurance race, and I rode with my buddy Zach. He was at the Mint 400 with us. I rode with quite a few other people, but that was kind of like the first UTV real series that was happening.
Yeah, I mean, obviously don't want to dive into UTVs too much here, but just think about the safety of UTVs from back then to now, like just the innovation and how much they've ingrained themselves into short course racing. And it wasn't that long ago that, you were starting out in the first, parts of short course racing and UTVs, and now we're sitting in, they're some of the biggest classes in the Champ Series, and they've come a long way.
We were starting out with bolt-on cages, and now UTVs are down to a point where 2 frame rails, and everything else is custom built. People don't want to tell you that, but that's what it is.
Yeah, and it's a good thing too.
And if that wasn't in the rules that they had to keep the 2 frame rails, they'd replace those too.
I'm sure they would, obviously. Yeah. It's been fun to watch them evolve. I'll be first to admit that they're probably not my most favorite class in short course. But
I think it catches a bad vibe because, and maybe this is how you feel about it too, but I think there's too many of them. If there was pro stock, pro mod, I think they'd still be really exciting.
Yeah, what is there now? I mean, obviously there's kid classes, but outside of kid classes, there's 4 or 5?
So we got Pro Mod, or whatever they call it. Everybody keeps on saying whatever they call it. And then they got Pro Mod, that's Pro Am, so it's like a mid guy. Then they got Pro Stock. Then they got Pro Am. Then they got Sportsman. Yeah, and then they got 570, and then Youth 1000. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean 7 total. Obviously, if you take the youth classes out,
Oh, and 170.
Oh, yeah, so,
So
8
now we got
total.
8.
But you got 5,
Adult classes.
adult classes, and we're not talking. Most of them are like 2-3 cars. They're like 15, 20, 30-ish cars, depending where you're at. And yeah, I mean, granted, you're going to get some really good racing. I would say if you want to watch like side-by-side racing, UTV, there's a lot of that. I think where I lose it a little bit is I would probably agree. There's a lot of it, and quite frankly, there's just some guys that dominate those classes, and it makes it like, oh, okay, sounds good.
Yeah, I think that's been reiterated a bunch, that it's just boring to watch pro stock because CJ Greaves is just always out there.
Yeah,
Which good for him. Hey, I think he would say the same thing, that he is open to competition.
Yeah, and I think, quite frankly, over the last couple of years, we've seen more competition roll in. Obviously, it's a good class to get into if you're, racing on some level of a budget. It's still not cheap, but there's at least an entry point to get yourself in the door.
Yeah, I wanted to catch up with Brock Haggard. Brock Haggard won the UTV class at Mint 400, and he's pretty much won every major race this year. So Dakar, Mint 400. I want to say Kings of Hammer, but that was Kyle Chaney. Oh, maybe he just won the UTV class on that. Not sure on all those stats, but he's been winning a lot. So it'd be nice to see him come back, because I think the last time he was racing with the Midwest was 2012.
Yeah, it's probably been a while, and
2012.
Like you said, though,
2020.
The UTV, he won the UTV Pro Open in the Mint 400. He was the overall top finisher on Friday. He was in the limited series, so overall top finisher, and it was kind of nice. I mean, there's definitely, for me at least, that was a little different. It's a lot of guys that we're not familiar with. Obviously, I know a lot of the short course guys. I know a lot of the big names in desert racing, but they weren't there because it wasn't a sanctioned race. So it was definitely interesting.
Yeah.
So other than that, though, like, you have anything else from like the Mint 400 perspective that you want to talk about?
No, I think we covered a lot on the Mint. There wasn't any short course there, if you were wondering.
Yeah, I was just here for the short course,
Yep.
and there was no short course, guys.
Now I'm here for a desert race.
Yeah, I do think, though, and we had a lot of the conversations about this at the Mint 400, and I do think that there is a good opportunity to have short course there,
Yeah.
and tie it into the Champ Off-Road Racing Series is potentially the start.
Ooh. Are we going to start that rumor?
I'm not starting a rumor. I'm just saying there's a good opportunity for it. I'm not saying that it's happening. I'm just saying there's a good opportunity for it.
I honestly think if they could have held back this year on saying that they're going to do short course at the Mint, and they would have announced and worked something out with Champ to say the Mint 400 will be the first round of Champ, and Champ will be there doing it as almost a separate body, but all one event together, then I think that would have went over fantastic. Because even we went, I know a lot of guys that were committed to going from the Midwest, and when they canceled it, they just canceled their trip. And we still followed through with it. And it's gonna take some convincing to make me go back.
Yeah, I think you're going to lose that, like, the group of people that had committed to short course off the bat here this season. And, like, granted for us, we still made it a trip, had fun. Like you said, some guys had backed out altogether, and it is going to take a lot of convincing. And quite frankly, like, that's still a long haul for a lot of people that are in the Midwest to get the race vehicles out there. But if they design it correctly and do it right, I think it would be a good first starting point for this season.
Yeah, because we might as well be racing out. Oof, hold my knock on wood here, whatever you want to call it, but it would be nice to be racing out there when it's warm and it's still snowing here.
Yeah, it would be nice. Like, obviously, I just want to get all the short course racing possible. So it would be nice to extend out. I obviously get, like, the pros can travel. Not every pro has the budget to travel. Obviously, when you get to Sportsman Class, it gets a little more difficult for those guys to commit a vacation and costs and all that. But obviously, if you get into the pros, maybe it becomes a pro-only event. And, yeah.
Yeah, I think it would have to be a pro-only event. Unfortunately, and I hate to exclude the sportsmen on it, but I just think that the majority of them wouldn't be able to make it happen. So if the majority of them can't make it happen, then why would we make it so that it puts them in a bind? Make it so, or you got to make it so you can drop one class or drop one race, but that gets dirty with trying to figure out stuff too. So I don't know, but I would like to see it as a pro race. It should be easily capable for the most pros to do it because there's so much marketing there. I mean, Ryan Beat just talked about on a podcast, Tito Time, on how for Glen Helen, or was it Missouri maybe? No, it was Glen Helen. Glen Helen, he contacted a dealership because he's a heavy Chevy sponsored truck, and he contacted a dealership. They're going to go out there 2 days early, do some cooking some pizzas and hot dogs and whatever, and throw on a little basically party for this dealership for their customers to come in. And that dealership paid for their fuel and some other stuff to get them out to Glen Helen.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously ways you can work with sponsors and make things happen. And obviously, especially in situations where the opportunity is there to really grow the sport or get your name out there, I think there is a lot of opportunities guys to capitalize on, and we'll see where the series grows. Obviously, we're adding 2 new tracks to the series this season, and I'm excited to see where the champ off-road series goes.
Yeah, so should we roll through what our schedule is here for Champ Off-Road now?
Yeah, let's go through the schedule and talk a little bit about how our podcast will coincide with the schedule as well.
Yeah. So the schedule is Wheatland, Missouri. That's on 5-2. And Anago is 6-6. Then we go to Crandon, and that's 6-20. Elk River, so ERX out in Minnesota, 7-11. And then Lena, which is Dirt City, 7-25. Bark River, 8-8.
Still my favorite track in the series, Bark River. I love that place.
Yeah, try driving it.
I'll pass.
It's a blast to drive, but and then anyways, we go to Crandon for the championship. Well, can we call it the championship anymore?
You're going to Crandon for Fall Crandon.
Yeah, well, the Red Bull race. I'm
in
sure
the Red Bull,
yeah,
in the Red Bull race.
Yep. So 8:28 there, and then Glen Helen 9:26.
I guess the Cup race, the World Cup.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So obviously that's the Champ Series. And then to still be talking about short course is there's a sportsman off-road race only at Lena as well.
Dirt City, yeah.
Yeah, so Mayhem at the Motorplex, they're running May 17th and 18th. So that slots right in there for some of those guys. And obviously it's the sportsman only. And Dirt City's been a really cool feature, or I should say track that has been added on. Obviously, premise was built for the sportsmen, but the pros get to enjoy it too, and it's cool that they're still doing sportsmen only, and that, for me at least, that's cool because that goes back to the tradition of off-road racing and the family ties, and that's just cool for me.
I honestly would love to see Dirt City put on a sportsman race. If you could do it once a month, those guys would show up.
I'm sure they would.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you got to figure it in so you're not too close to a champ race. But
yeah, I get that, but I'm saying that. I mean, Dirt City is the best. Well, I can't say that. That's a big statement. Dirt City has a really nice facility for sportsmen. The track is tight for them. It's elevation change, highly visible. It is centralized to pretty much almost all the teams. sportsman-wise teams. It's just a great position for them.
Well, and for me, I get to see more buggy racing. I love buggy racing.
Buggy dark.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll gladly own that. I'm a buggy guy.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. So our podcast is aimed to be, we'll be recording Wednesdays after race weekend, and then hoping to release them on the Fridays after the race weekend. So just a couple days there to do some editing. We might fluctuate that if we have a guest that needs their schedule worked around. Obviously, that we got to be flexible in that standpoint. But most likely, we will still be releasing the Fridays after the race weekend.
Yeah, I think that's a really good goal to aim for. Obviously, like you said, you get a guest that comes in and you got to adjust to them. I think we're also hoping to, at least get some content from some of the races, whether it's us talking about the race at the race or maybe catching a guy at the race too. Hopefully we get to throw some of that into the season as well.
Yeah, I would like to think that, I don't want to make promises on this, so this is not a promise, but I would like to think that we can do some YouTube shorts of interviews or some action that is at the track. We're definitely setting ourselves up with the equipment to do interviews at the track. And as long as it's not, well, Bark River's pretty much the only one that's dying for cellular reception, and Crandon on a championship weekend, unless you do it at 2 a.m. But either way, we'll be trying to do...
I don't know, Crandon on a championship weekend at 2 a.m. I'm assuming there's still a lot of internet traffic going on.
Well, yeah.
I think if you're doing it at like 3 or 4 in the morning, there's a whole lot less people because they're probably passed out.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll aim for 3 in the morning uploads then.
Yes.
So, should we talk about the 2024 season?
Yeah, we can kind of just briefly get through the 2024 season, talk about some of the results. Obviously they've already had the banquet and, the season's been done for a while, but I think it's a really good preview into what we can expect in 2025. Obviously, there'll be some shifts in, who might be in classes, things like that, but I think it's important to know what guys did last year. Obviously, some of these guys probably built new trucks or have new equipment, things like that. So, yeah, let's get into the 2024 season and kind of recap that back out.
Okay, yeah, so, we got points here for the trucks, the pro trucks, just to dive into some of the more exciting classes, to get into that.
Well, that's subject.
Well, okay, they're all exciting, but
yeah,
it's hard to
up
cover.
To the beholder.
Yeah, it's just hard to print off and talk about 100 UTVs every one. So we'll do this on the pro trucks. So pro spec champion was Dylan Parsons. That was his second season. And Chris Vandenhausen, that was his third season.
Yeah, obviously.
No, that's actually his fourth season.
It's pro spec been around that long now?
Yeah, well, they had when Ryan Beat ran it against the Pro Lights. So I don't know if you can call that this season, even though I heard somebody got a check from that.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. That time flies. Obviously, Pro Spec is kind of developed to be the entry-level truck, and throughout the season, we had roughly 12 drivers earning points on the season, and obviously the Pro Spec class is growing, and it's nice to see a decent car count and, seeing these people, giving them another stepping stone to go to the next step, or it's just another entry point. Obviously, I don't know where it's going to go long term with Pro Light, but it'll be interesting to see how it develops.
Yeah, when they first came out, I was like, get these dang things out of here. But now I've got a soft spot for them. But I got to work on quite a few of them, and being a part of a championship as well made that soft spot.
For me, you just give me more short course racing. I mean, I'll take. Obviously, it gets tough getting all the classes in, and you want guys to get more seat time, and that's always a hot topic of how much seat time people are getting. But I don't know, just give me good racing. As long as it's a class that's giving me good racing, I enjoy it.
Here comes 10 more UTV classes.
Well, they could have their own weekend.
Okay. Yeah, down from there, Nick Visser. He's been in there multiple years, just same as Krista Van den Elzen. And then, I don't know, the rest of them kind of, that was where the competition kind of lied for me, was those top three.
Yeah, I think that is kind of where it's set up. And, obviously we had like Avery Hemmer joined later in the season. And,
yeah, she's got one race on.
Yeah, and, you're starting to see like Wyatt Miller. He came out late this season. He was very smooth. And, if those drivers are staying in the pro spec class and that's what they're going to do going forward, I definitely think 2025 there's going to be a shakeup up front. And I think, the young drivers of this class are going to start challenging the top three, and it's going to make for some exciting racing going into the 2025 season.
Yeah, Avery Hammer's got a good truck and good guidance behind her and a good crew, and she's a very talented driver, so I think that is going to lead to something. And I did some bench math here to talk about a little bench race I had in my head. So Christopher Parrish and Wyatt Miller raced the same truck, the Ryan Beat truck. Okay? They never raced the same time or the same weekend.
Well, if they're racing the same truck,
I know,
been impossible.
Just making sure that you knew they didn't do split time or not.
Yep.
They just split the season right in half.
Yep.
They both did the same amount of races. So if you add their points up, thinking that they're just one solo driver, that truck was run by, and they're both two very young people, that suddenly becomes really close. And then if you look at Christopher Parrish got a DQ at Antigo for some engine seals, which were, whatever, rules are rules. But if you take that and reverse that DQ, it suddenly becomes
based off of what I can see, they're probably pretty dang close to beating Dylan Parsons.
It becomes a 30-point difference between Dylan Parsons and the joint drivers there. If you reverse that DQ. If you don't, then it's still a very solid lead. So I think that's very interesting to think that younger kids are first coming into the series and first into off-road even are doing very well in that class. And same with Avery Hemmer. Avery Hemmer did very well in that class as well. And then we even have more young kids coming into this class.
Yeah, it's definitely becoming the youth movement in pro spec, and obviously they've opened the doors with letting like a Wyatt Miller drive, and at his age, and the door's been open, and I think we're going to see a big youth movement to pro spec, and I wouldn't expect that to stop. I mean, the door's been opened, and I think it's a class that you can get into relatively cheap. I mean, as I say that, it's still expensive, but in the terms of off-road racing, it's a class you can get into a big, decent-sized truck, a full-size truck, at a good entry point, and the door's been open. I think we're going to see it for a while now, that it's going to be another stepping stone for young drivers to get in.
Yeah, we have another very young driver, same age as Wyatt Miller, Wesley, coming in, and he's got a great truck too. So
yeah, I mean
that truck that he's got was on the cover of Dirt magazine in 2021, I believe, maybe 2020. So
I'm just saying, like, Pro Spec's probably a class to watch this upcoming season, and especially with the youth movement, it's going to be competitive. I think there's going to be a lot of shake-up up front, and I'm putting the prediction out there early. I don't think we're going to see a repeat winner in Pro Spec.
Well, yeah. I don't know. Dylan Parsons has a good program going, and they keep on building on that program. So he's going to be tough to beat. That's not going to be...
Oh, and 100%. It's not on that he's going to be tough to beat. I just think there's just so much youth movement, good drivers that, like, it's going to get shooken up, and it's not going to be easy to repeat.
Yeah. Yep. I'm gonna be watching that class very closely. It should be very exciting, just like it was last year. I believe that class last year easily was just as exciting as Pro 4.
Yeah, I mean, I had some personal interest in it because I had guys I was cheering for and guys I like in that class and talk to on the race weekends and things like that. So, like, obviously, the personal interest drives the interest in the race as well. But there was a lot of really exciting door to door racing, and I mean, there's some very questionable calls.
Oh yeah, there was calls that was yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and then if you were continue to go in that order, we slide to the pro light class, and I mean, quite frankly, that was a walkaway. Trey Gibbs
Yeah, he
carried that. He had over 100-point lead in that.
Yep, that was less exciting to watch.
It was. I mean, behind him you had Johnny Holcher, Carson Parrish, Carson Brown in fourth, and then Matt Wood and rounding out the top five in that class. And I mean, Gibbs all but walked away almost every weekend in that, and it made it less. You were basically watching who's going to take second.
Yeah, I do think he had a couple mechanicals, and I think that's what ultimately caused point differentiation. But yeah, it was pretty much how far is he in the lead.
Yeah, I mean, he still won by 100, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, Johnny Holcher taking second, and that's quite the feat because they had a heck of a 2024 season keeping stuff on the track. And for him to still take second pro light is exciting, and obviously you want, guys that and to do well, and it's tough.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he said on his socials that he's trimming one car back, so I think we're gonna try to get him on certainly soon and get some talks about that.
Definitely being in their pit wouldn't have been boring this past season.
You wouldn't have been short on work.
No, and that's unfortunate. Like, you hate to see that for any driver. They put so much time, effort preparing for the season and throughout the season, and just to have that many things to go wrong on multiple trucks makes it really hard to run a race program. And it makes sense that they drop down a truck, and we'll see where that goes. From a pro light perspective, is there any driver you're like looking forward to the 2025 season? What are you looking for, I guess?
I mean, I'd like to see Johnny Holcher do good. I'd like to see Trey Gibbs do good again. But I really don't have much of a pony in the race for pro light, unfortunately.
No. It was cool, like late in the season too, they let announcer Brent Smith get into a pro light truck, and like he tore it up. That was exciting. Like, that added some excitement into that class throughout the season.
Yeah, he was in a Holter truck.
Yeah. It was exciting.
Nothing broke.
Imagine that. I wasn't going to go there, but you did.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
So, I think pro light, we'll have to watch that class and see what excitingness shapes up. I think that unfortunately that class might be on the chopping block if we need to trim down a class, because they're just so darn close to a Pro 2 that it's becoming too much of a similarity, cost-wise, lap time-wise, everything else.
Well, yeah, they are becoming very similar to Pro 2, but you got to look at, if you're looking at pure, obviously we have the results in front of us, and based off of people on our result sheets, I don't know if this is the exact car count, but if you're cutting Pro 2, you're talking about the second biggest class of all the trucks. It's Pro 2 had the most, Pro Light was second, Pro 4 was right behind it with Pro Spec. Obviously, Pro Light, Pro Spec, Pro 4 were pretty close to numbers, but they're still pretty decent sized class for Pro Light.
Yeah, but I think they only had 9 full seasoners. I think Grant ran a couple races, just judging by points, and then I know the bottom 4 only ran 1 race.
Yeah, that makes sense, and obviously that factors in it too. But as we shift to Pro 2, which is the next class, this was, obviously some of these guys only ran, probably Crandon, and you see like Deegan, things like that, probably only ran Crandon for the most part on the bottom here. But up top, you had Mickey Thomas, Ryan Beat, and Kyle Greaves, and that was a neck to neck battle, and obviously second and third was separated by 1 point.
Yeah, that's crazy. This was definitely right up there in excitement with Bro Spec. And again, we have a lot of people in there that we enjoy talking with and rooting for, so that made it more exciting. Talking about the car count, I would say that, at least 15 people were majority of the season.
Yeah, give or take. I mean, obviously.
No, actually, you got Rodney Anderson. They ran 2 races. They ran ERX and they ran Crandon.
And Keegan, I don't believe, ran a full season. So,
yeah.
Obviously, there was guys that didn't run a full season in here, but throughout the year, it was exciting. It was competitive, and, you think about Crandon, you think about short course, and, you start talking about the big trucks, and you're thinking Pro 2, Pro 4, obviously, but, Pro 2 is one of those classes that if you were a spectator and you're not as deep into short course as we are, that's one of the classes you go out there to watch, because Pro 2 is just, big monstrous trucks giving it all and flying on the track. And, I mean, it didn't short us anything in our admission price last year.
No, that's for sure. And they're definitely an animal to handle. I mean, 2-wheel drive, often these tracks are watered up or dry slicked out. There's a very rare in between that you get that perfect mixture and you're not fighting the rear end chasing you around.
Yeah, 100%. It definitely makes a difference, and especially if you get on a wet track. And obviously I haven't driven a Pro 2 or Pro 4 myself, but
yeah,
I would assume driving a Pro 2...
I've seen you on iRacing.
Is, hey, leave me alone.
I've seen you on iRacing.
I think I just close my eyes and slam it down.
If that's 50% correct, well, we got problems.
If we're going off my iRacing, I would never have a truck that isn't wadded up.
Yeah, good thing there's a reset button.
Yep, and that's all the racing I can afford is iRacing.
Yeah, so Mickey Thomas is leaving the Pro 2 class.
Yeah, is that official?
It's as official as I heard.
Yeah.
Jacob Rosales is getting his truck. He's going to be running his truck, not getting it, running it. So, will Jacob Rosales have some better results based off of equipment?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you're upgrading a truck and equipment, I mean, obviously, I don't know how much information is being shared guy to guy or what they're going to do, but you get a new truck, you got to obviously feel it out, get the setup right. Obviously, I could give you my setup, and you drive different than me, so the setup might not be perfect. So it's going to be a lot of messing with the setup to get it right, too.
They're under the same tent for the last couple of years, so they should be working good and close together. So it'll be exciting to see what that brings out. Speaking of Keegan Kincaid that you spoke of earlier, he said that he's doing a full season and he's going for a championship. We want to win championships here now.
Yeah, that's exciting. I mean, Keegan can be bad fast at times, and if he's devoting out a full season, it'll be exciting.
Keegan.
That's what I said.
Oh, okay, I thought I said Deegan.
No, I said Keegan.
Okay, good. I don't want Deegan around for a full season. No, there's not enough cars around for that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, other than that, obviously we have a huge name of guys in Pro 2. Is there, looking into 2025 thoughts on the class, anything you're looking for?
I'm just kind of thinking, who's going to fill Mickey Thomas's shoes. Because Ryan Beat was right there, but Kyle Greaves obviously 1 point behind. And I think everybody's working hard.
Yeah, I would assume everybody's working hard, and I guess my personal favorite here is I'm hoping we get a Greaves up top and Kyle takes this one. It would be exciting to see him pull it off and get a Pro 2.
Yeah, well, when he gets that first win, we have a secured spot that he'll be on here as a guest.
Yeah, well, hopefully that happens fast. Hopefully we're first weekend, we got him on right away because he started off the season fast and got a win right out of the gate. Yeah,
we'll be coming back from Missouri, and hopefully we'll have Kyle Greaves joining us. So,
yeah, that would be exciting.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump to Pro 4. Obviously, this has been a class dominated in recent years, and a lot of them by the Greaves, and This season was no different. CJ Greaves takes the point champion. Jimmy Henderson second. Johnny Greaves third. Adrian Cheney fourth. And Andrew Carlson in the fifth spot. And, quite frankly, I enjoy the Greaves. I grew up. That was someone I always cheered for.
Yeah.
It would be nice to get a mix up in the Pro 4, get a new guy up top, and see a new champion. Like, I don't know. I just feel like it might be the season we see a new guy up top. And I know we've had this conversation personally, and I want to bring it out into the podcast a little bit too. Like, I think back in the days, like, you had the Greaves, Johnson, and they were giving it all on the track. They were side by side, bumping. Sometimes it got crazy, and there's a really good rivalry that built across them.
Yeah.
Like, I guess in recent seasons, you haven't really felt it, or it hasn't manifested. Like, obviously, you have Jimmy Henderson that could, some people say starting to build that with the Greaves a little bit, but it just hasn't manifested to the level I remember as a kid is, Ricky Johnson and Johnny Greaves going at it and really building that up to, be exciting throughout the race season. And I'm not saying go wreck guys or whatever, but I want that competitiveness to build into something that builds something on the track that is exciting for the fans.
Yeah, I think they want the competition too. I don't think that they want to sit there and dominate end over end. So I think that a good competition would be great. And not that there hasn't been competition. I mean, Jimmy Henderson was 28 behind, and that sits right on par with all the rest of the classes for gaps on points. So it's not like there was CJ dominating.
No, and there's, quite frankly, sometimes Jimmy Henderson was super fast and way out front. I mean, unfortunate things happened, especially at ERX this past season, where he cased it up over the top.
Yeah, that
was drove over the top of the turn, and he had a pretty comfortable lead at that, but he was all by himself. And obviously, it'll be exciting to see, like, hopefully throughout the season, he can keep that truck out on the track. And that's the part that's tough for me. These trucks have got so much power. They've got so much speed now. Like, they can't even keep them together for a race. Like, that's the part that's becoming tough. Like, it's almost a battle of who's left. At the end of a race, you got 2-3 guys on the lead lap because they've drove their wheels literally off the truck at this point, and it's becoming of who can, the battle of who can stay out there. And quite frankly, for me, I want to see good racing throughout the whole race. And just by the way of this season, we're seeing a lot more of the trucks, tearing stuff up and not even being able to finish. And quite frankly, that it makes the Pro 4 class sometimes tough to watch at the end of the race weekend.
Yeah, we definitely want cars finishing. And I think that the Pro 4 class has kind of, like, you have this, I don't want to get in the payout talk, but you have this point where, like, the races are paying out this much, but the truck cost, it just went somehow like this. And just the amount of speed that they're doing now and the technology, like you said, that's going into it is just nuts. I mean, these guys are using paddle shifters that is replicated off of, like, IndyCar shit. So it's expensive.
Yeah, it has really became very expensive to be in Pro 4, and that's why you're seeing, like, it's tough to get a good truck count, and it makes it even tough, like, back to the point, not only is it expensive to build these, maintain them, but with the power and them getting torn up and not finishing races, that's that much more money that has to go into it. And then obviously if they're breaking mid-race, they're not getting top dollar for finishing. Granted, there's not a ton of money to be made anyways, but it's all adding up, and it's becoming tough to run a Pro 4 truck.
Yeah. So what do you think Mickey Thomas is going to do in this class on the first year?
I would say solidly in probably the top 5. I would say he's probably mixing it up in the top 3 would be my best guess. Obviously, like, Johnny Greaves is getting up there, and he obviously can still wheel a truck. So I think he's probably battling with, like, a Johnny Greaves, maybe a Cheney. I don't know. He's probably somewhere in that 3 to 4-ish range is my guess on the season.
Okay. I believe he's got an old Kyle LeDuc truck. So that's at least a good start there. I honestly think he's either going to be first or second.
Yeah, I think that's a big time ask for somebody coming Pro 4 year one to pull off first, especially with like a CJ Greaves.
Yeah.
Being so consistent, being able to keep his truck together for first part. Like, I think that's the part that's tough. Like, year one, that's why I didn't predict him up top, because
Yeah, there's so much learning curve.
yeah, there's a learning curve. Obviously, you got CJ Greaves, who's probably one of the smoothest drivers to ever get behind the wheel. And he's just methodical about picking his spots, and that's why CJ wins. I mean, CJ's a good driver, and I think that's really stiff competition year one for Mickey Thomas to come in. But
Yeah.
heck, if that happens, I'll be excited. That means we had a good year of good racing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's definitely up there for sure in the 1-2 spot. And with that said, I'm sure Jimmy Henderson will be in competing for a 1-2 spot as well. So
That truck's bad, man.
Yeah.
The sound on that, just the roar of that truck's awesome.
yeah, and I think last year really a lot of it was figuring out the truck and the mechanicals, and it was such a new truck from head to toe.
It's got power. It's got power.
Yeah, and it's been at Beyond Red Line for quite a while, getting some stuff done, and he's out there testing. I just seen testing videos this week, so maybe all things are sorted and it's time to rock and roll.
Yeah, I'm all, like I said, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, we look back at 2024, kind of jumped into 2025. We head out, we're talking about a little over a month to Wheatland now?
I put a timer on my phone, and I think it's 42 days.
Yeah, so we're looking at racing in the next month and a half here, and I'm excited, and I'm excited for the journey our podcast will take. Obviously, working out the bugs in this first podcast, and I'm excited for the journey, and I'm excited for another race season. And
all right, so yeah, after every race weekend, you can find us posting on our YouTube page with the podcast, and
yeah, I'm excited for this journey that we're going to go on in the podcast, and like you said, every week after the race weekend, we're going to try to get a podcast out on that Friday, and I'm excited for the journey, the guests that we're going to get on, and really talk about the history, legacy of short course racing, off-road racing, and really getting some exciting guests on throughout the season.
Definitely. All right, this is Dirt Sociable. Thank you for watching.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.